Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
We got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here, and got Dixon, of course, with us down in the land of Puerto Rico. And I don't know why I keep going to Oceania, but we got Liam on with us again. So, yeah, what's going on, my friend?
It's just something about the air in the southern hemisphere, right? It brings out the best in elephant players.
I think you guys have a similar vibe that just, just an appreciation for some of the saltiness and hot takes and just nonsense that we do on this podcast. So it's always fun.
Yeah, it's always a good time. Looking forward to today.
Yep, and Dixon, you are so excited that you are playing Outcasts again, which is awesome because I know that's like you've played a lot of Outcasts in your days, so I know you're excited to go back to it.
I mean, it's my OG faction. Like the main two reasons why I stopped playing is like one, I have been playing them for like ever, like 7 years, and then the second thing is I kept misremembering the rules because in my head I had like the rules from like 3 different versions. I think against you the other day, I was playing with Taylor, and I was like, she's willpower 7. I look at the cards like, oh, wait, never mind. I'm done.
No, she's not. Yep, so we're going to go over the Outcast Ashes of Malifaux models today. We're going to just kind of go through the keywords and just be like, okay, what do we think of these models? Not going to read everything, just getting kind of general feels about them. And think, just kind of predicting what we're going to like and what we think might be good with certain combos. Of course, as everything's going to develop, there's going to be new stuff explored and found, and it's going to be a good time. But before we get into the episode, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that on Twitter. You can do it on our Discord, which is always popping off, even at the early hours of the morning, because we have people all over the world on that thing. So definitely check out the Discord. YouTube channel, we're putting videos like unpacks on there, different just top 10 videos. Dixon and I are actually going to do one after we get a little more into Ashes of just our top 10 models we like from Ashes of Malifaux. So look out for that content coming out on YouTube. And then finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that by going to patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can support us. And we appreciate that, especially with that sweet infomercial that Beard made for us. That was really awesome that Rich made that. And I had somebody join just because of that video. So I appreciate it, Rich. And we also have our affiliation link. If you're going to buy all this cool Ashes of Malifaux stuff, definitely use our affiliation link at Give Us Your Money, Please. Thank you weird.com/RageQuitWire. And a little bit goes to the podcast. I will say, I was talking with Edic about just kind of the release schedule of some of these models. He was very upset that there is no Bayou model or box on the release schedule yet for things coming out for Ashes. And that makes me a little sad because I want Bash to come out because I want a huge albino frozen alligator, but I guess Bayou's going to get stuff later. Dude, that alligator with Soulstone Cash, it's going to be money.
Yeah. Plus side is almost all the Outcast models will be out by like May, so
yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for that Sandeep box coming out in April. It's going to be super sweet to get Arun on the table. But we are going to talk about the Outcast stuff, which there is a decent amount of stuff for Outcast coming out, so that's pretty exciting. I don't know. I mean, just a general feel of things coming out. Liam, do you feel like excited about these models coming out? Are you kind of like, I don't know how good it's going to be? Like, what's your general feel like seeing everything kind of splayed out on the table?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I think there's a lot of really cool like new tricks that we're getting access to. It's plugged some holes that the faction's been struggling with a bit for a while. And yeah, like we're like 10 Thunders in that we're the only two factions that where all of our cross faction masters got their models in different factions, which makes outer keyword hiring a bit less flexible, and it also means we have to buy more boxes. But on the flip side, we have more new models, I guess, to get excited about once you factor in the keyword specific stuff in. And unlike 10 Thunders, we got some random extra stuff, so we've actually got
Yeah.
a pretty solid wave coming.
I think we should like look into those models first because they're so specific to that one master.
Yeah, I was going to actually talk about. Are you talking about Dr. Silas
No,
specifically?
no. He's talking about cross faction ones, which is Infamous. Infamous is the only one. We already talked about the wrestler ones, and honestly, they're more wrestler than anything. Like you're not gonna see them really in Outcast, except for Liam. Well,
Jackdaw.
Liam mentioned specifically there's one model that you will see with Jackdaw regardless of faction.
Yeah, I reckon. Look, I like the Ferryman, and I reckon the other one. Geez, what is
Kari.
it? Kari.
Kari.
I like that. There's a place for Kari in the right matchup if you really need those anti-healing auras and stuff. But yeah, I think you guys basically covered everything to do with those models on the Reza episode, so
Yeah.
I don't really feel the need to rehash that.
That's all right. That's what I do all the time, Liam. I'm like, oh, I know what, this person already covered it. There it is. I'm not worried about it. And then the other cross faction one was, I guess, with Zip, with Infamous. Is that it?
Zip and Tyria are the other two. Zip's ones are a little bit interesting in an outcast, like from an outcast specific context. I kind of like Mossbeard. He's very squishy, but he's got the ability to push markers, and that means that I rather like bringing Rusty Alice into Zip in Outcast because it gives you access to pit traps,
Yeah.
and so you get the ability to push pit traps into people, which is always pleasant. There's honestly doesn't seem like there's much else going for him as a model. I'm a little bit him and the swashbucklers both feel like they're very much on the squishy end of the spectrum, and it can be proved pretty hard to get some good work out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was literally what I was thinking about. I did not like Mossbeard at all. Like at all.
Yeah.
There was nothing really that I saw in him, and I was like, yeah, I want to have this model. It was like 7 points for I die and do nothing. Yay.
Yeah, he feels a bit confused. Like I'm honestly not really entirely sure what that model is meant to do. Like his best attack is stat 5 at range, and then he's got a
excuse me, Liam, because somebody was going to tell you his best attack is stat 6, and it's a melee attack. It's amazing. Wait, what is it? Oh, it's Sharp Wit.
Sharp Wit.
Sharp Wit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know if you need
it's
Sharp
fine.
Wit and Zip.
Like if for his actual damage dealing though, he's only got stat 5. So he's mostly just throwing out negative conditions on people, but I don't know if he lives long enough to do that job.
That's the thing. He's gonna do a bonus action for a distracted. What is he supposed to like? I don't know. Unless he's
which is stat 5 again. So
well, I mean, my biggest issue with him, and this is the thing that I see constantly, is an enforcer model that doesn't have anything suited, that doesn't really have a clear purpose, and dies to a stiff breeze. It's like there's like dozens of these models, and it's very frustrating.
Well, because and I think that's kind of interesting to point out when you're looking at a model, right? Because he pushes a marker, puts out distracted. He does this thing with the hand size. He puts out slow. It's like he's kind of trying to be, I guess, a control piece, but he doesn't have anything besides hard to kill to try and hang out and chum in the waters, I guess. But that doesn't help you in Outcasts.
He feels like a really scaled down Molly, but
yeah.
It's
I mean,
I guess that's one way.
Really scaled down.
He looks and feels to me like a bad bow. Like literally for the same point cost, he's just a bad bow. Like, why would you have this model over bow? They both can heal, they both can damage, they both have some control elements. Literally, there's no reason for this model to exist. He looks awesome, and that's the saddest part.
Yeah, all the Castaway vibes. It's pretty good. The yeah, look, I'm not the most experienced Zip player. He's the master I always seem to It's mostly because the models are a pain in the ass to get to the store because they're just so unwieldy. But um,
Yeah.
uh, so I could be missing something, but I'm sort of struggling to
No.
find where Mossbeard fits in.
The funny thing is, like, I was
Um,
looking through cards and I thought, oh my god, this model would be fine if it was in Big Hat, but like, I'm not gonna pay 8 points to get him out of keyword. He would be fine. He wouldn't even
mm,
be good. He would just be fine in Big Hat. But the other two models, I think they're great. I think that they have a place. I don't know if, like, if you're a newer player and you want to play with these models instead of like others, then I can see value. The Swashbuckler and
yeah.
Toast.
I Swashbuckler. I'm sort of yeah. I mean, it's fine. I feel like it does also just die, but
Against
at
guns,
least
yes, but like if you play into something that's like mostly melee and you're aware, combat
yeah,
finesse has survived stat sevens like throughout the entirety of this game.
that's fair. And yes, it is nice to actually see like a bit more distracted generation as well between him and Mossbeard for Zip 2 synergies. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's what I just said in the chat with James talking about some of the debuffs and stuff. I was like, oh, I guess that kind of works with Zip's 2 thing because what he can lower distracted to, I forget, to do something. I can't even remember what it is offhand because it never came up.
Hmm. Okay. And you guys don't feel any positive against Toast? Like, I thought that he was really awesome for the
oh,
price.
I liked hers. Flamethrower, in my opinion, is one of the game's strongest gun attacks. And in Outcast specifically, we've got great synergy with the Catalan Brawler, who
Oh,
has a melee attack with he can build in the
Hold
hold down
down.
trigger to generate an attack, and the attack also gives you
yep.
staggered. So that's functionally generating free stat 7 flamethrower
Oh
shots.
my god, yes.
So Toast with a brawler in the same list is gonna is
That'll
like
be fun.
a fairly cheap module given that Toast is only 6 points. And yeah, I reckon could really put out some
Yeah,
hurt.
14 points for like self-sufficient module for of two models just going off on their own. Yeah, that's really good. And the Catalan Brawler defends Toast, and Toast has armor. And, like, it's very. I like that. I like the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a outcast insights you that you're not going to get over in Bayou, so that's something
But yeah,
worth talking about.
James pointed out something very important, which is the cutlass being a 245 on a 6 point model for the swashbucklers. That's
When the
really
enemy's
good.
often on negative to resist as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Like
punches up well too.
swashbucklers are like they're very like a gamble, right? Like they could just die,
There.
but if they get in, yeah, they're probably going to do some
Yep.
work. They're probably going to do more than some work. They're probably going to hit well above their pay
Oh
grade.
yeah.
Yeah, in this GG, they might have a better chance of actually doing a thing. Last GG, they wouldn't have done anything because they just die.
I don't know, man. I've had combat finesse make models survive past their like
It's true. You're not. I mean, you're not wrong.
yeah.
Usually, then the
Depends
guns
on
get
the
them, though,
matchup.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
depend absolutely. I agree with that. It absolutely depends on the matchup. Like any gun will just be like pop, you're dead.
Yeah, and the last crossover that we have is this bygone stuff.
Yeah, there's two
Yeah.
So,
models. I think they're both good.
yeah,
Two
what's that?
models?
Yeah,
I only remember the slipstreamer.
no, there's a slipstreamer, and then there's oh my god, that's right. I misread Casey Jones. You're right. It is only just a
Right.
slipstreamer.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
he's
I
surfing,
made the
so that's
mistake
cool.
of playing a whole lot of Tiri lately. I do not enjoy playing Tiri, so
Really?
just looking at another. I went on a whole rant about it on the Weird Discord a couple of days ago. It's like several hundred words long. It's
Do you think it's so?
I
I
don't
mean,
like the fact.
I was going to say, is it just a general kind of rundown of what your feel is on Tiri? Is it more of, I don't know, do you think it's a boring play style? Is it just too efficient and too like you get everything? Like, what's your kind of take on it?
I think it's like just fundamentally badly designed on like base principles. I don't think the keyword tells a story, which in Malifaux is fairly criminal because one of the best
Yeah.
things about Malifaux is the way rules tell stories. I think it manages to be overly complicated, but at the same time, it's like almost a snooze fest to play because the crew's adverse to failure. So it manages to have like way too many memory checks while also at the same time feels like you're playing with training wheels on. It's strong. It does everything you want it to do, but I really dislike the actual experience of playing it because it just feels
Wow,
badly done.
I did
I mean,
not
I don't
know
like it
that.
either. Well, I mean, it's just that's what I'm saying. It's like everything gets shielded. Well, now that you're shielded, you get all these triggers built in, and now you get to draw cards once per turn, and then you get all these pushes, and the Iron Matron's fast, and now she's in your deployment zone killing stuff,
Man, I
and
really like.
you
And your
have
TNs are so low. Like the number
yeah.
of like you've got all these great actions that for some reason only need twos or threes or have like after resolving triggers or have no TN at all if you're
And
looking
I
at
don't
like
even
Genshin
know the
constructs.
backstory of this because honestly, they just look like another robot faction. Like
I
I get their kind of alien technology, but I'm like, okay, whatever.
I
They're
really
meant to be
love these
burning a
models too.
but like their story is they're meant to be this cursed race that's slowly burning alive, and there's the word burning doesn't appear on like any stat card in the
On none of the
keyword.
cards.
I feel like Scars of Sharuf should require you to like gain a point of burning when you declare the trigger or something to just at least represent that facet of them. But anyway, this is getting off topic. The slipstreamers, kind of similar to the zip models, to me look like they're kind
You
of
surfing,
squishy.
man.
I could definitely see them just dying.
I mean,
But
the defense six and one shielded. They're just
yeah,
scheme runners. I think that they're really good
they
for
are.
what they do, but you are right; they're just gonna die if you get a straight flip on them, like
And
two
they're
straight
also sort of
flips.
more of that Tyrion design in that like they get their shielded for free, so they get their triggers for free, so everything's just kind of free.
Yeah.
And now I'm tired and I want to move on.
Okay, just because you're upset that they are, I think they're gonna do their job before they die. So they're gonna be like a, unless somebody gets jumped on turn one with like, I don't know, a big model like the Valedictorian. I think they're gonna be fine because of the shielded. So they're gonna get to do their one job. That being said, though, what would this take out? Because like they're very tight in that list.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out that part. Like I think their list is pretty tight. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I
by the
can't see
time you
them
put
really.
like Cat Parsons,
Yeah,
the toss bot and whatever other nonsense you put in there, just there's not a lot of stones left for this.
correct. So like
Pretty
the
much.
you can take out the warrior, you can take out the hodgepodge, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of weird to figure out what to put in and take out. But yeah, no, I personally I think these models are great. The slipstreamers, especially because they have two abilities that are just insane. One of them
Well,
being
and
all
I don't
terrain.
think they need. I don't think that the keyword needed like a good scheme runner, and this doesn't even. This seems like like an okay scheme runner. But I mean, the totem, the Ouroboros already goes fast and can scheme and crap, if I remember correctly. And the keyword itself is already pretty quick because of all the pushes and crap.
Right,
So,
right,
um,
yeah.
because Tyria can just move models around like cheap.
Yeah, I mean, Alter Rain though is incredibly powerful. Like they had to remove it from Loiza because it was so insanely powerful. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I still think that there's value in these models.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah,
there's any value, and you might see actually more value on the Maxine side of this.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Um, I think Maxine could use a cheap model like this more than
More
Tiri
than
does,
Orville because Orville is their one fast like swingy
and
model.
he dies so much.
Yeah, so I think that
I make a point to dunk that model whenever I get a chance.
yeah, I think that's actually the two things is this is probably gonna be more seen more in EVS than
I
in
think so.
Bygone. But I still think that in Bygone he's good because he's a free shielded on a model that you can just like have on the
Mhm.
periphery.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to talk about the giant hulking monster in the room, Dr. Silas, first, if that's fine with you, gentlemen.
Yar.
sure.
Because I don't pop into the Outcast Discord a bunch, but I see a bunch of people talking about this dude, and I even see it on some of the other ones because Dr. Silas has Asylum and Half Blood, so he's dipping into
He's
two
amazing.
two keywords that a lot of people like. A lot of people like the Doctor stuff. A lot of people like the Half Blood, especially the new
Yep.
Half Blood stuff. So
Oh,
I mean, Dixon, you sound a little excited about it, so I don't know if you want to pop this
he's
off a little bit.
he's straight incredible. Okay, so I shouldn't say that like, oh my god, he's super busted. No, it's the fact that you get in Outcast access to freaking nurses, that you get access to Angel Eyes. So like you can have Angel Eyes and nurses in the same group, give him double focus. You can have scavengers just join in as a one scavenger giving out focus, pushing models 4 inches. There's so much good, and Silas is tanky enough that you're not gonna see him die. Also, the fact that he's not a frontline beater. He has toss, so he's gonna be delivering payloads left and right. So yeah, I the more I looked at this model, the more I was excited about it. And then he has a couple of really good upgrades for his in keyword model. So yeah, I think that he's great in the counter punch because he does have a 2-4-5 with drink blood and all that stuff. He has black blood, but yeah, toss. Having toss and most of the models that you want in your faction being size 2. Oh my god, this model is so amazing.
No, I'm certainly got plans to put on the table. For some reason, I actually already own the Asylum box. I'm not entirely sure what that was for, so I only need to pick up the Half Blood one to have access to the
Nice.
full range of stuff. Oh, and nurses.
Okay,
I do actually
so
need to. I would need to buy nurses,
Liam, just a,
but
just a quick
yep.
thingy. I don't know if you know about this, but Angel Eyes just won Captain Con. She went 5-0. I'm not even exaggerating. Pete can tell you that. It was ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah, Zoraida Angel Eyes. Turns out it's pretty good.
Well, that said, I've been trying to write crews with this guy, and the main problem is, frick me, the squishy. It's squishy. It's so squishy. There's like nothing in Asylum or in Half Blood that feels like it could take a hit. Silas, if you're considering Silas to be your master, he can't take a hit. He's like on one of the He would be, if he was a master, he'd be one of the squishiest masters in the entire game, because he's defense 5, willpower 6, 12 hit points, and no defensive rules. It's just him
Just
and
stones,
stones.
baby.
Yep. In the stones.
So I feel like you probably need either Barbaros or Montresor in the crew, just to have something that can provide a meat shield. And
I mean,
yeah,
I wasn't thinking about Montresor. I was thinking about Barbaros for real.
I like so Barbaros is cool because of the synergies it had. Like
Yeah.
the crew has black blood effects, and
Well, black blood
he can join in on
protection.
that fun.
They have black blood protection.
And one of the upgrades on Silas hands out more black blood, so Barbaros can just sort of join in on the
Yeah,
black blood train.
like James is saying in the chat, he combos really well with Grimwell.
With Montresor, yeah, that's why I'm thinking Montresor, because once you can have the ability to put Staggered out and keep Staggered permanently in play, Grimwell comes really heavily online, especially because Silas's upgrades let you build in the second crow, and so now you don't need a stone, you don't need a card. Grimwell can just guarantee lobotomy.
Just murder the crap out of you.
All he need, so I think that all pairs together quite well, but I don't expect this crew to necessarily take off competitively by any sense, because I think it's just too many models that just die to an alpha strike.
Oh my god!
I think it's just and here's why, Dixon. It reminds me a lot of honestly, like a Barbaros led crew, right? Where you can do some really cool things with it, and you're going to win like a solid amount of games. Like Orderlies are really good scheme runners, and you have a couple good beaters, but they're a little fragile. And it reminds me a lot of that Nephilim Barbaros stuff because it's good and you got some cool, toys that you can bring with it. But like Liam was saying, I think if it gets punched in the mouth too hard, just evaporates just very badly.
I mean, I guess I don't see it the way that you guys are seeing it, because you're right that, I mean, he doesn't have any defensive measures except for black blood and 12 health, but he doesn't have to be in the front lines, and he does, like I said, he has access to drink blood, so he can survive somebody trying to jump him with at least 2 models.
The problem is, if he isn't on the front lines, then kind of who is? Because I don't really want. I mean, Grimwell at some point is going to have to be on the front line, so I don't want him being my tank because he's pretty squishy. Angel Eyes falls over if anyone looks at it funny.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't really.
There's no tank in these keywords beyond what you can bring in as versatile throughout a keyword
Right.
in Outcasts.
No,
And that gets expensive
this is
really quickly.
yeah, but this is a very alpha crew. They like send models in to kill. Also, Barbaros is one of your two tanks. Barbaros is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
super
That's why I
tanky.
said Barbaros or Montresor. At least one of them should absolutely
Yeah,
guaranteed
yeah,
be
yeah.
in the list, if not both.
That being said, I don't
Because
think
like Barbaros is cool. You can toss Barbaros because he's only actually size 2 from memory.
no, he's 3.
So Barbaros?
Oh, you
No,
said
I'm fairly
Barbaros. Sorry, sorry.
certain he's a
I
2.
thought I heard Montresor.
Oh yeah. Montresor is 3. Yes, no fun synergies there.
So, Liam, I don't think that you're going to be doing a lot of tanks. You're probably going to have just the one with Barbaros or Monty, like you said. That being said, I don't think that this model has to survive past turn 1, really. All he has to do is deliver the payload with toss and give out a couple of upgrades. That's just my take, just by watching, you know, not watching,
My
walking through his rules.
my worry is just if my opponent attacks any model in my crew bar the one tank that I hired, then those models will just die.
Really?
And yeah, because if they make a focus shot on a nurse, the nurse is dead. If they put any serious attention to Grimwell probably dies,
Hmm.
because he's only got defense 6 to keep him alive.
Yeah, defense 6 is
Uh,
stones, and I think that's it.
Orderlies fall over if they get attacked. None of the enforcers in Half Blood are particularly survivable. There's just nothing that can withstand any amount of pressure. So
Huh.
a Nekama crew would just blender this because they just go around the one tank and kill every other model. And what you're gonna do.
I mean, I could
The
see what you're talking about, but like, how can I say this? I think that there's enough here. Yeah, you're right on the orderlies, but I think that there's enough here to actually survive a fight with Nekima while you're doing missions. Mostly because I've
okay.
seen it
I
and done it, but like, I think good players are gonna make this a lot harder to do. So maybe that's why. Because you probably played it. Oh, have you been playing Vassal?
I certainly have, but I hadn't touched Vassal in quite a while, but having this new stuff to test out has given me quite a few games in. Not with Silas yet though,
Gotcha.
but I thoroughly intend to that. There's definitely a tournament in my future where I just try to solo Silas through the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh,
Like for all that I'm talking him down, I do want to play him, and I am interested to see what it's like.
Yeah, because I think that
I
Grimwell one-shotting, or not one-shotting, but you know what I mean, like doing between 7 and plus damage to somebody. It's like, holy crap, this guy is insane. I don't know. I value some of these models on like payload delivery and then surviving only to turn 3, and I thought that they were really good.
Yeah, basically. Like I think they'll do fine to a point, but they're a very easy crew to counter, so I don't imagine they're gonna, tear up the competitive rankings or anything. It's a crew that's just a bit too susceptible to getting punched.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
look, I haven't put them on the table yet. It's a bunch of models that I've never had access to in my faction before, so I'm prepared to accept that I could be wrong, and I certainly look forward to testing it out. The upgrades that you can put out are pretty interesting too. The admittedly, the one for Asylum models feels like it's really just best to then discard for the positive suit. But
Correct.
being able to do a damage to one of your other models that has Black Blood has its uses, I guess. But yeah, that's
Yep.
about it.
Yep. Yep.
The
that combo
the
is
other one
actually
though,
pretty funny because like you can, yeah,
the 1/4 Half Blood models, that's cool upgrade. The giving
that
loot on
has
demand.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's money all over the place. Because like you can do the only two half bloods that are seeing play right now are the little minions and Angel Eyes, and then Maurice gets some play every now and then.
Hmm. And Silas can make the blood wretches in a pinch if one of the asylum models dies. So
That's gonna be so good.
yeah, so there's some interesting stuff going on there. Um,
Yeah.
the But yeah, look, I'll need to test it. I look forward to testing it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like that's the thing, because I'm not like super. For example, the thing that I liked the most about these upgrades was the possibility of just putting an upgrade on like Grimwell, and then having Grimwell get a positive attack and double crow without actually having to do anything crazy. He just has double crow for lobotomy.
Yep, 100%.
So I mean, that's super insane in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and that combination with Montresor to just trivialize the whole experience is
Oh,
yeah.
oh, so good. Because then everybody's staggered. Oh, Monty, I didn't know about that before you mentioned it, and now I'm like, yeah, I definitely have to test out Monty with them because I already played Grimwell against Pete a couple of times, and he's really good. He's just super squishy, like you said. Well, he's not super squishy. He's squishy because defense 6 and hard to wound is in stones is all he has.
Hmm. Yeah,
All right.
but at least with Montresor there, with his Demise Eternal and locking everyone in place so that they have a harder time to like get
Oh,
into the
that's so
squishier
good.
models. Yeah, I think that could be what the crew needs. Did we want
Okay. I mean,
to? Sorry,
I'm listening.
I was just gonna say, did
I
we
think
want to
the
move on to
delay.
trial and error? But
Yeah. That's actually what I was gonna say. To say, I think maybe with like the other models, like trial and error and stuff, maybe that makes a difference. I haven't played them. They seem interesting. How do you feel?
um, I've had a hard time fitting them into a list. They're very Mr. Tannen in Lynch. They
Yes,
give me very strong similar vibes, though I will say fast to speak on a boring conversation model is way better than manipulative, because you actually
absolutely.
do want to go first with these models and put up the aura. Uh, they're de- they're
The
def-
defensive trigger. I'm like, what the crap is this?
it the way the math works out, it kind of makes them defense 7 50% of the time is
Yes,
essentially the vibe. So yeah, they're interesting. The I just they're just hard to fit in because besides that boring conversation, like their attacks are okay, but
yeah.
like my
Projective
my my
voice is decent.
my main problem though is from writing Silas lists is that points get really tight very quickly. Like you're spending 9 or 10 points to get Barbaros or Montresor in there for a tank. You're picking up
Right.
Brimwell at 9 points. You want Angel Eyes because of course you want Angel Eyes. You want nurses. Yeah,
Do you want one or two nurses? I think it's like you have to choose which of the two packets you're gonna go with, though, and you have like one or two models that are gonna be both. Because like yeah, if you have Angel Eyes, but you only have the two shots, is that good enough?
yeah. Do you consider bringing in a Catalan Brawler to because is fairly tanky and he
There
can
you
give
go.
Angel Eyes more shots. But so there's a lot of like competition for trial and error, and they're like 50% of the time they're relatively tanky, but the other 50% of the time they just die. Just
Yeah, they
if
just flop over and die.
if your
I
opponent,
was like looking at them, I was like, this is gonna be an interesting model, but if they get anywhere near the front lines, you flip a coin and they die.
yep, and they want to be on the front lines because they've got boring conversation and the ability to like put out an unresisted point of staggered if they get the trigger. Um,
Yep. Yeah, I would drop a 10 or possibly an 11, depending on who I'm playing against.
well, hopefully you shouldn't even need to because they'll just have an upgrade on them and they can spend the upgrade to build in the suit. But
That's right. I forgot about
um,
that.
yeah, it's So they're neat, but I haven't actually managed to fit them into any of the lists I've written. They also make me quite annoyed that neither they nor Silas are versatile. I don't know if I would hire either of them too often if they were
Right.
versatile, but it would be nice that if Weird had just like, you know, pretended that it was an option.
Yeah, no, like I don't think there's ever a world where like because like the thing is one of the models that we're going to talk about makes it so that the the robot from the Bygone becomes size 4 and it's 1 point cheaper than Silas. Silas would also be size 4 for the tosses. But like you see what I'm going with this, right? That like that allows us that you can start tossing size 3 models, and that would make it so that, like, why would I go for Silas when I can just go for the ancient construct?
What was it that makes them size 4? Sorry.
Oh, well, actually, I think we've talked about Silas enough that we can go on to the mercenary bandits.
Ah, of course. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about Ellie May. And Ellie May is part of this thing that I was looking around when I was like, okay, so what combos are good with this? And I saw Ancient Construct with this makes it so that I can toss the big Victoria, the size 3 Victoria, because she has an ability in the front called Fire and Platform. That is amazing because you can toss her and the Victorious with the Ancient Construct. I think that's worth something. I don't know about you guys, but like being in the middle of the table is like pretty dang good for the Victorious.
Yeah. Look, the bandit models are I like all the outcast models. The bandit ones, these bandit mercenary chaps are like definitely the ones that got me the most excited.
Oh yeah.
I
Goodbye,
I've
Convict
I've probably
Gunslingers. Goodbye, Woko Raiders. They
I've
don't exist anymore.
yeah, yeah. I've definitely played these two more than I think I've played more games with them than every other new release combined so far. Almost all in
They're
Plague.
amazing.
Like I actually haven't played. I think I've played them in their actual keywords yet, but I've played a lot of
Yeah.
them in Plague, and they're really good.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, like Bandit's got. I was annoyed to see that LMA was 8 points because Bandit has a serious over concentration in the 8 point slot. There are like, I think there are five with LMA. There are 5 8 point Bandit models.
And they're not nearly as good as
Well,
LMA.
most of them are famously mediocre at best. So Benny
Yeah.
being the only exception. So yeah, LMA supplants all of them pretty much immediately, and it's
Yep.
more.
I did want to take I did because you mentioned Benny right there, and I do want to take a quick side kind of like tangent here for a second. Have you seen this Dead Man Walking list without Benny in it? That's been kind of kicking around.
No, but I don't approve. Oh, I think I've seen the list, but I don't approve. I look, it's there's nothing else you can put in that slot that is worth as much value as Benny is. I get why people do it,
Wow.
but that 8 points for Benny is just impossible to compete with in Dead Man Walking.
Yeah, but like the Woku Raiders, Sue just not doing as much as
No,
Benny is.
they just they don't live up to that same level.
I mean, I
LMA is pretty good
honestly,
though.
I think that after Ellie May and the 6 shooter, there's no reason ever to bring a Comic Gunslinger or a freaking Woku Raid. Like literally,
I
absolutely no reason whatsoever.
I would agree. These one of those two, and I haven't decided which, is always going to be my like final model now in the standard build. But and which one I pick will probably change from time to time. So I like LMA can almost do a better version of Parker One's turn one gun threat if what you want to do is just snipe out a model. Slightly lower severe damage, but she is stat 6 at least, so that's a fair bit better. And she can ignore like cover or concealment if she has to.
Or friendly fire,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
if she puts up the upgrade, she can ignore friendly fire and another ability. Like it's
Yeah,
sorry.
the upgrade is so cool. Like you can do things like like there are ways to get 2 focus on her turn 1 thanks to 6-arm 6 shooters, but even if you don't want to do that, there's like just taking a sniper shot, going for your min damage, but just trying to put the upgrade on your opponent's beta and make them have to like consider if they actually want to move forward into like a next turn's like fuel assault of min 3 shots from the 2 of these models is a really good psychological pressure play. Like you just tag their master top of turn 1 with the upgrade, and then you just like, do you want to come forward? I've got so many guns waiting for you.
Come on, it's okay. It's okay. The funny thing is, like, he only technically has 2 shots, but if you get a mask, those 3 shots are gonna feel like hell. This is gonna be really painful.
Yeah. The other cool thing I mean, so this is going to be a recurring theme through the rest of the dual keyword models, but LMA is I feel like Outcasts have been missing a reliable schema ever since the nerf to the Midnight Stalker.
Yeah,
Because
he got Yasunori. It was pretty sad.
I've still run him from time to time, but I probably won't once all the Ashes models are out, because every single one of those boxes contains a model that I consider to be a pretty valid substitution for the Midnight Stalker. So LMA is that for the Bandit Mercenary keywords, because not that Mercenary really needed a substitution, but she's move 6, she has battle tempo, and she has ride with me. So she goes like, what is that, 13 inches and can interact every turn, if all you want is a schema. And she can be carrying someone with her with the ride with me to make the, like, give them more viability. The only thing on LMA that really bugs me is the firing platform rule. I know there are good synergies for it with the tossing, but it reads to me like someone heard my complaints about the way Parker 2 doesn't work well with Drop It, but they didn't actually understand what the problem was. And so they tried to fix it, but the rule doesn't actually fix the problem because it only works in their activation. And that is the one time it wasn't a problem.
Huh. Okay.
But because basically the Parker's problem, and to quickly recap, is that the way Drop It works allows the opponent to always just drop the marker out of Parker's line of sight. And so if firing platform were not solely in Parker's activation, then theoretically she would let him see over the heads of other models and always get line of sight to those markers to make it.
Well, because it would make him a size 3 instead
2.
of, and most of the stuff he's shooting at is 2. So he would be able to see where they're placing it.
So you'd be able to overcome that line of sight limitation for triggering perdition. But because it's just during his activation, it doesn't actually help the problem, because in his activation, Drop It has to be in his line of sight anyway. It's everyone else's activation that was the problem. But aside from that, LMA is phenomenal, and she can do so many different things. In my Plague crews, I've basically just been using her as a kind of expensive Catalan rifleman, just to drop 2 markers in a single activation while also moving Hamlin up the board. And that's like, that is not the most efficient way to play her. But I was just trying to see if I could pull off a consistent 8 rat a turn summon, which
I'm always for a force multiplier, and honestly, what you just described is a heck of a force multiplier if Hamlin starts, way more up the board than normal. That's, I don't know. I see it as a bonus anyway.
Yeah. The big model for Hamlin is, in my opinion, the other one, the 6-arm 6-shooter. And I was mostly just bringing LMA because I figured I'd test both models at once. And then after having both models on the table at once, I went, oh, I actually really like LMA even out of keyword. So
what does the 6-arm 6-shooter do that you really like with Plague?
With Plague. So fundamentally, it's his combination with Benny. He can, on turn 1, you can pretty reliably get 8 scheme markers in play for Benny to summon rats off of.
That
Yeah,
seems like a lot.
it's pretty fantastic. So the way it works is you've got gamble, so you get a guaranteed enemy scheme marker on turn 1 in range of Benny, which doesn't like force you into like it doesn't take up space because it doesn't block you from taking interact actions. And then the other huge thing he's got going for him is his bonus action of exhibition shooting, which lets you move scheme markers. So what you kind of do is you have models run around Benny dropping scheme markers via interact actions, and then you activate the 6-arm 6-shooter, have him interact to drop a scheme marker at his base, then you exhibition shooting it to push it underneath one of the existing markers, and then you cheat, and because the TN at that point is like a -3, because the TN of the action is dependent on how far away it is.
Yeah, and you put it in base to base, so it's 0, and no matter what you flip, you pass.
Yeah. But if you have any mask at all in hand, you can cheat the mask in to get the action to go again. And so you can end up with 3 scheme markers in one spot, and then more models can interact in those same places to get in the places those markers used to be. And you can basically do that with the help of one other model that has a way of generating a scheme marker via a method that isn't interacting. So like the emissary or Yannick or the new fumigator model.
Oh, so good.
Then if you have even just one of those models, you can get 8 rats down. I have written a list. I don't think it's a good list, but I'm pretty sure I can get all 12 scheme markers down or 12 rats on the table on turn 1. Thanks to the combination of this guy and a couple of the new releases. But that's the plague version of 6-arm 6-shooters. The actual intentional in keyword version of him is still very good because he's got a gun with some great blast damage that ignores hard to wound.
I mean, you can still do that with Parker too, though, right? You're still bringing Benny there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm probably not going
I mean,
quite so hard on the turn 1 summoning, but absolutely 6-arm 6-shooters is so good. He actually has a trigger. His trigger that drops a scheme marker isn't drop it, and you get to control where the scheme marker goes. So he actually gets to proc perdition.
oh, but it's only between you and the target. Whatever shall you do?
Yeah.
2 points of damage.
Oh, Liam, you have no idea how many times like we've heard people say that, like, "Oh, vantage point is not that good." I'm like, are you crazy?
Oh, it's phenomenal. But look at those triggers. All 3 of those. He has 3 of the 4 suits are phenomenal. Are triggers, and all 3 triggers are phenomenal. You're looking at either perdition damage in Parker 2, or you're looking at stunning strike, or you're looking at getting another shot. And the attack is a 2-3-4, but it ignores hard to wound, and it has like double blast on the severe damage. So this guy can do phenomenal amounts of damage, honestly, for a cost 7 model. It's very similar to having a flamethrower on hand, but
my 2 favorite things about this model specifically, I mean, aside from everything that you said, but like the favorite things are if you're using Ellie Mae and you get the upgrade on the one model that you really absolutely need to kill, it makes it so that this guy can do 5 damage on the top end and ignores whatchamacallit, friendly fire. And like you can just jam people into whatever that target is. And this guy can run and gun and just blast off of it. Well, oh my god, I love it so much.
No,
Yeah, doing
actually,
that +1
on the
damage
note
is
of that
pretty sweet.
upgrade, the upgrade gives ignoring friendly fire to all bandit models, and I didn't entirely twig
That's true.
this until halfway through one of my play games when it happened. Benny has a trigger on his gun that like basically never comes up. And it's called Rat Bomb. It blows up a rat. It does +1 damage to the target, and it makes the attack an AoE attack. The problem is Benny doesn't ignore friendly fire, and for a rat to be base to base with someone, that rat, while the rats don't engage, the rats can be engaged, and that means that you suffer from friendly fire. So it's almost impossible to actually have that trigger just like naturally come up. But but I think I've done it once in all my games with Hamlin, and then it happened a second time because LMA put out her upgrade, and suddenly Benny could ignore friendly fire, and there were rats in the area, and I was like, oh, I can rat bomb. I can actually rat bomb. And so yeah, so you get that cool little trick as well. And on top of all that, he's
So
got
I
ways
think
to make freaking hazardous terrain and give
I think
focus to
that's a bigger.
LMA. And
Yeah. Suppressing fire is gonna be like the most used ability on his card, but everything else that we talked about, he's amazing.
I was just going to say, looking at these two models, do you guys think that this benefits Bandit more, or it's going to benefit Mercenary, or is it a little bit of both?
That's so hard to pick.
I
In Mercenaries, you absolutely get the toss combo, which is insane. But in Bandit, I mean, Leon just said a whole bunch of stuff that gives you scheme markers, and pushing scheme markers on people in Bandits is really powerful.
I think they're probably stronger in Bandit, but not because they're not good in Mercenary, just because Bandit had more deeply average models that you kind of don't want to take, and these guys are just gonna like take the place of your convict gunslingers, your Sioux, your Wako raiders. Um, and they're just going to make the keyword a bit more flexible. Also, the fact that they're armored and bandit models means they get a lot out of Pearl's healing,
Yep.
which
That's
previously
true.
you didn't have anything with damage reduction that Pearl could heal. So I think they get a lot there, but not to knock them in Mercenary. They're going to be solid in Mercenary.
Yeah,
They're,
and
they're just a
I
really
honest to God, I think that in Mercenary that toss combo is just gonna go just off the rails.
So you keep saying the toss combo, but is there, so for people listening, Dixon, what specific models are you looking at
So
tossing with
I think we
Mercenary?
mentioned it earlier, but Taylor, prime example, a fast Taylor with double focus. That's always awesome. So yeah, I was thinking about this model when I was thinking about Silas. Not with Taylor, obviously in the Silas. I was thinking Barbaros in that context. But yeah, just little things like that. Ellie Mae making the ancient construct 1 inch bigger than all the big beaters that you can toss. That can be a thing. Uh, in this specific context, I was thinking in the Ellie Mae mercenary thing, it was ancient construct tosses Ellie Mae and the master 10 inches forward, and then Ellie Mae can go on do her thing, and the master obviously the Vickies, the size 3 Vickies, if necessary, can instead of like being Ellie Mae, you can do it to Taylor. So then you have a Taylor and a Vicky, and then Vicky can toss Taylor 6 inches forward. You just there's a lot of little things. I'm just trying to put it on the table. I was thinking about this yesterday, but I haven't been able to put it on the table yet.
uh, a small thing that 6 arm 6 shooters has as well. Like I've talked about how nice Gamble is with Benny for just the extra rat, but there's a bunch of random little things that having a free ski marker at the start of the game helps you with in Mercenary specifically. Like it sets you up for a covetous cravings without having to interact first, so that you get kind of like a much more free, fast turn one on something if you've brought the student of conflict. Or if you have a prospector or a model with the soldier for hire upgrade, having an enemy scheme marker in your deployment zone turn one just translates into an extra soul stone, because you've got this will fetch a high price on both the upgrade and
Prospectors.
prospector, or you can use it for card draw if you've got want a criminal, which frequently you do in Mercenary, because you might want to put want a criminal on a Ronin. It's not my favorite
Yep.
choice, but if you've done that, you've got extra setup. So it almost feels like it makes 6 arm 6 shooters a point cheaper, because you can so easily convert that free marker into a soulstone.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I do love Ronin. So giving two of my Ronins one to criminal is not a thing that usually I like to do. But hey, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go with the fumigator. I think we talked Ellie Mae and the 6 shooter so freaking much. Let's just go to the fumigator because we
Yeah.
were talking about plague.
Yes. So,
Yeah, the
funnily
free
enough,
core and
I
plague
have not
models.
actually put any either of the plague models on the table yet, despite most of my testing of these new models being in plague.
So
The
fumigator, I think it's great. Just saying,
I think
better than the
it's
DCU.
decent. I certainly don't think it's better than a DCU. DCU is so much stronger.
Okay.
I just think the flamethrower attack is too good for Hamlin because Hamlin's mostly a melee crew, and having the one of the best range attacks in the game available just for like early game pressure is just too useful. But the fumigator's solid. Like it's fairly tanky. It can build in its suits. It's got AoEs on its melee attack. It's got shockwave, which is not something that the plague keyword normally does, and
Oh yeah.
it can make rats, which is fun.
I mean, both the fogger and the friends in low places have like great triggers in my opinion. Like for example, sweeping strike. Sweeping strike is insane on a attack that already has blast. So you're double blasting off of melee attacks, and then you have reference the field guide, and every one of these attacks gives out poison. That's insane, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's solid. I don't know about insane because, like, again, the DCU on severe, if the DCU does severe damage, which is what you really want, it has double blast without needing a trigger. So it's not necessarily anything new to the keyword, but it is cute that you can bring both because it adds a lot of AoE pressure to a crew that's already very good in like brawls, and you combine it with stuff like extended reach to make your opponent less efficient when you're engaging your crew, and it's another armored model, creating a weird little sub theme of armor in a keyword that is traditionally very, very squishy. Yeah.
I think that, and you guys play Hamlin a lot. I'm looking at this more from the Von Schill side of it because I played more Von Schill for sure.
Mhm.
And for me as a Von Schill player, I think the tunnel rats are probably the more exciting thing
Oh,
because getting secret passage to actually go scheme for Von Schill definitely is something I think that it helps that keyword out a lot because besides rocket boots, yeah, you got, stuff that can go scheme, but this gives you a cheapish model that can, give an upgrade, secret passage somewhere, go score your
I
I
would.
points.
I
don't
would
like that model at all. Am I the
really.
only one that hates
No,
this
you are the
model?
only one. I think the tunnel rats are not
You are.
just a big deal for Shill. I think they may be the biggest deal for the faction. Um, because again,
There you
we've
go,
been
Dixon.
missing
Yeah,
anything in
no,
that
I
Midnight
get
Stalker
it.
slot, and for 6 points or 7 out of keyword, we can just throw in a secret passage model.
And they have stealth.
They do
They
have
have
stealth.
stealth too.
They are, if anything, fast with a good melee attack is on the field. They will die very, very
They're going
easily.
down.
They
But
just died to anything that has a top end of 6 damage.
and to be fair, like we've discussed with LMA and like we will discuss with V and Hardstop Herbert, every other keyword got something in this release that is good on that like mobile scheming vibe. But still, the other things they've got the ability to make hazardous terrain in case you're um, you need that. And as got mentioned in the chat, Hannah can copy secret passage. So
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, I did not think of that. That is
yeah,
very
so
good.
Paying 6 points to have Hannah teleport 12 inches seems good.
yep,
Seems for a bonus action, by the way, because like in her case, it's a bonus action.
it becomes a bonus
Yeah,
action.
so you don't like secret passage, Dixon, on the tunnel rats, but do you like secret passage on Hannah?
I now have to think about that because like, as soon as James said it, I said that smiley face, that was me because I was like, oh,
You know,
that has super value. How much of a force multiplier is having Hannah go 12 inches across the table?
Also,
he said
it's
the
a
answer is
small
yes.
thing,
Yes, you do.
but it's a random little efficiency boost. Hannah can also build in the I can dig it trigger when she does it, so she can guarantee a scheme marker wherever she shows up. Which is pretty nice if, say,
See,
Deathbeds is in the pool, and then Hannah shows up
yeah,
behind someone going, "Why, hello there," and then she curb stomps
yep,
them, and now
yep,
you've just scored Deathbeds very comfortably.
yeah. Do you the meme? Just the omae wa moshinderu.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's
the
just she just appears behind the person, just flash.
So, but yeah, I think the tunnel rats will prove to be a bit harder to kill than they look like on paper, because they not only do they have stealth, but if your opponent can't ignore severe terrain, then every turn after they've teleported, they can just lay down their landmines to cover the approaches, and force your opponent to slog through severe terrain if they want, and that is also hazardous if they want to get to them. So that sort of reduces the number of
Yeah,
things that could necessarily threaten them.
and I think all of that is even out of keyword is worth 7 stones. Like that's doing
Yeah,
work for
and
you.
in their keywords, like Hamlin, this opens up so many options to Hamlin. Like being able to just plug in a 6-point schema that can go get you like an outflank or something. Turns on these
Mm,
schemes that traditionally are not viable for Hamlin because you're playing too close to the center, or like I reckon with I reckon the tunnel rats are enough to make Hamlin very good for stuff like plant explosives, which normally I'm a bit hesitant to play Hamlin on over a more mobile crew. Also, I just want to mention this. They have strength in numbers, and strength in numbers applies to their ranged attack as well. So they have a built-in positive to damage on a gun that has AoEs on its moderate and severe damage, which
yeah,
it's
it's
not.
just 233 blast. It's
Yeah,
not
it's not the biggest thing in the world, but sometimes you'll like do 3 damage to 3 models in one shot from your 6-point model, which
fair.
you know.
Fair. Okay, so yeah, it cannot be ignored because it is true. Like you have to put him at 2 life, if I remember correctly. It's either 2 or 3 life for him
uh,
to stop doing that damage.
you have to get down to 2 hit points. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like uh, a thing that you have to watch out for until you smack it really hard. Even a normal model with a 234 can still put this model below the threshold. So that's actually balanced in my opinion.
Yeah, it's fine. But because of their ability to teleport the entire table and do it,
Yep.
there will be occasions where you get some unexpected kills. I think with the tunnel rats as well.
Yep. I think that the fact that they have disease is kind of weird. It's like, why do I? Why is this like a payback kind of thing? Like you activate next to this model and kill it, but in response to that, you got a blight.
I was really hoping that they'd have a demise ability or something that would suggest that they're actually just like a bunch of rats wearing uniforms.
Oh, that would have been so cool,
Awesome.
But
dude. That would have been so cool.
if instead of like
They were just rats.
nihilism is the really random wasted text thing because it's it's okay, but like that they die so easily that your opponent probably isn't going to try and control them with conditions, and like
Yeah.
if they do, half the time you're not going to bother wanting to spend the card on it. It's
Okay.
it exists. I don't dislike having it, but I wish instead of
Yeah.
nihilism they had like demise, something similar to the Bayou version of like better things to do, where when they die, just drop a rat base to base with them or something.
I would have been very happy if instead of the season nihilism, they had armor one and that demise.
Yeah,
Like us talking about it,
I
if they literally just had that, that would be great.
their stat card had probably been out for a full week before I realized they didn't have armor because I just
It's it,
assumed it's a Frycore
Most
model. They
pre-core
should
stuff
have
does.
armor. What's going on?
yeah.
But
No, I mean you look at the picture and it looks like they have armor.
yeah, but I can understand that at that point they're probably so survivable with stealth armor, landmines covering the approaches, and the vast distances they can move
A
that they're
little too much.
probably that would probably push them over the edge into being 7 points that you would bring in almost every single outcast keyword.
Yeah, c'est la vie. I think the thing that James presented alone is making me just like check these models again. I'm like, okay, wait a second. How important is it to have
Yeah, and
Hannah
this is why
across
we
the
talk them
table?
out too, because when you look at it in a vacuum, you're kind of like, oh yeah, this is kind of. But then you start when somebody's like, well, have you thought about piecing it together with Hannah, or have you thought about doing this? That's when you really kind of line things up. But
Oh,
for these two
so
models, I mean, I would say Freak or Plague winning, but it sounds like Outcasts kind of win here with the Tunnel
Yeah, I'd
Rats.
say so. The only thing holding them
I'm not
back is
convinced
that they
yet.
do need an 8 for Secret Passage, really. So some of the more resource-strapped keywords are a bit of a struggle. I
Okay.
know some people are excited to play them in Tara because they can have a good, like they can send Tara down one flank and the Tunnel Rats down the other flank and have really difficult to catch high mobility scheming options on both sides of the table.
It's a lot of 7 and 8s that you
Yeah,
need
Yeah.
there.
I mean, they
I
also.
think the card burden in Tara is maybe a bit too high for me to want to really do that strategy, but like I don't, I can see the value in it, even if I think
They're
the cards are a lot.
the 50. Yeah, but the 50 millimeter also makes it so that they're very hard to hide, which is the number one reason why, at first, I didn't like them.
Yeah, but stealth and landmines and hopefully some choke points go a long way, I suspect. So um, we'll see. Yeah.
We will see.
Nevertheless, very excited for them. But largely like the obvious caveat on any secret passage model is in the right pool on the right table.
Yep, exactly. Well, let's go ahead and we kind of mentioned the Obliteration Tara. So let's talk about her models and I guess they're amalgam
They
models
are.
too. So this is what Levy's going to be
I
dealing with. And
Yeah. This is one of the other, like, it was Tunnel Rats and these two that I'm just like, eh?
I think these are a lot stronger in Levy than they are in Tara. In Tara, I don't think Tara has this like currently the default Tara build is to just hire every non-minion and summon the minions and call it a day. I don't think these replace any of the existing models. With the exception being that if my opponent is like has obeys or has a way to target buried models, I probably bring V instead of the Scion. But the but they are really interesting models. They've got like they're both
the dude in the wheelchair is
Hardstop
awesome.
Herbert, yeah. Like they're both tough. They're both armor 1 models. V has hard to kill. Hardstop Herbert has hard to wound. Armor and hard to wound is such a great combination. It just makes you so annoying to deal with. Like if I was looking for an out of keyword schema, and I was considering bringing the Tunnel Rats for 7 points, but my opponent has access to Mature Nephilim. Paying that extra point for a model that doesn't just die into Mature Nephilim swings in Hardstop Herbert is a pretty big deal. And he's what like I said with LMA and then the Tunnel Rats. Hardstop Herbert is the third model where we just got like this really good independent scheming model who the like that can kind of take the place of what the Midnight Stalker used to do. Where he's tough, he's movement 6, he has onward, so he can move as a bonus action. So his main weakness is, unlike LMA and the Tunnel Rats, he can't really do anything scheming wise if he gets engaged. Beyond like his one trick is that he can try to hit his burst of speed trigger on his melee attack and use that to get out of melee. But or he can also bury himself with one of his other actions, but that doesn't help you scheme that turn. That just lets you set up for next turn. So yeah, so the big thing that these two have that makes them really interesting, and Levy specifically, is they've both got this rule called back in a flash, which lets them, if they're buried in, they've got the same from nothing rule that Tara models have, which lets them end the fast condition to unbury and base contact with a model, which is really interesting from an Outcast wide perspective because we've got the Dead Outlaw exists in Bandit and Tormented, and the Student of Conflict exists in Mercenary, and we've got Stolen handing out fast in Hamlin. So we have a lot of keywords that have ways of giving out fast that these two could use to unbury themselves. And then in Amalgam, they've got this back in a flash rule, which is just a freebie. can just always unbury next to any unactivated amalgam model, which creates like so much flexibility. If Herbert is buried, and you've got like a Necropunk on one flank or a Waif just dawdling somewhere, Herbert could just be anywhere, unbury, move 12 inches, and interact in order to get you a point.
The thing is, horses exist, and the riders are doing that slightly better, at least from what I've noticed.
If you're playing Levy 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
he has
I wouldn't
been.
bring these in Levy 2. This is purely a Levy 1 consideration.
And you think that they're better than the current choices for Levy 1?
I think so, because like a Necropunk doesn't have the suit on their leap built in, so for the extra
Okay.
point or two that you pay for Hardstop Herbert, just only needing a 5 is pretty great.
Okay.
And V is I think V's a really interesting model.
Yeah.
I think Gather
Yeah.
Intel is great in
I think the trigger on Gather Intel, that is pretty disgusting.
yeah.
I think that's the main reason why I'm actually excited about this model. If I was gonna put it on the table, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not excited about these two models because they don't look or feel like anything that I want. But if I was gonna put them on the table, it would be specifically because of V and because of that one trigger.
Yep. And it's always worth noting that like
to the listeners, the trigger is basically you get negatives to attack those models for a mask.
yes, out of sync. That she's also got a trigger on her Gather Intel that lets her bury herself, which is something both she and Herbert have. They've got ways to just, instead of needing another model to hit them with stutter time to make them buried, they've both got triggers to bury themselves on certain actions. And then V also has stutter time. So if you brought V and Herbert into an amalgam crew, V can bury Herbert and then bury herself with a Gather Intel, which also draws you a card.
And that was actually a thing that I was going to ask you about because of that trigger. I was thinking about her specifically in Levy 2, specifically, again, just to like do that trigger, put a beater horse that is negatives to hit. I thought that was like huge high value. And then later on in the game, you could summon an amalgam with Levy 2. And then because I summon an amalgam, depending on where you in the turn you actually summoned it, since he hasn't activated, if the opponent doesn't have any more activations, she can unbury with that model. Just like little things for the value. Again, I am not excited about these models, but like I have to admit that is a very powerful.
do things.
Yeah, that is a very powerful little combo right there.
Yeah, she's also a healer, and Levy 1 never says no to another healer.
Fair.
And Jury Rig is a really interesting one. There's a lot of ways to use the Jury Rig bonus action, which like just lets you guarantee having a suit. Like you can guarantee having a High Crow for Levy 1's Necrotic Decay attack. Or honestly, sometimes I think it will be valuable because you already have tools for the job for that purpose. Sometimes I reckon it'll be good just to guarantee her triggers. Like if she can throw away any card of like 4 or higher and guarantee out of sync on her Gather Intel or non-existence if she needs to bury.
You can gather intel with a 5 of mask, do your bonus action, discard a 4, grab that 5 right back into your hand and do it again.
Yep.
That's a small value thing that you can do to guarantee that 2 of your beaters are now negatives to hit for the rest of the turn.
And remember, Gather Intel has a chance to give the people nearby distracted, so your opponent could be at 2 negatives to hit and not even have the option to like focus through it. Or
This is the same.
Also true.
The same action Harrison has, correct?
Yes, that is Harrison Frodcham's famous action that got him nerfed to the ground. Well, that and the pass token.
It was the pass token.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both, in my opinion.
So, I mean, from what I'm hearing from you guys, it sounds like Levy probably likes this a little bit better just because I think it gives him some options that he probably didn't have as many of, or at least as reliable.
I think they're a really mobile scheming pair in Levy because of back
that
in
wheelchair
a flash letting
Herbert dude.
Yeah,
he's
and
awesome.
you combine
This
that with back in a
probably-
flash, letting them go all over the table. You kind of like they're just really flexible models. I think in Amalgam, particularly because Back in the Flash doesn't require setup the way From Nothing does. I think
Oh,
in Tara though they're a much harder sell because that core Tara crew
Yeah.
is so tightly knit. All the models synergize so well with
I,
one another, and
I think the real thing that you can do that's amazing with this model is if you see that your opponent's trying to like hunt down Herbert, you can sit there and you just look at him and say, listen, you better leave Herbert alone because if you attack him, you're being ableist and I'm not going to allow that
oh,
kind of hate and
and
bigotry on
hey,
this
you,
table.
you you've got Back to the Future references out the
no, no,
wazoo
no,
as
no,
well.
no.
So,
Equal opportunity. No, equal opportunity. What is it? The hammer of justice is equal opportunity.
Dixon's over here flipping wheelchairs and pounding Herbert into the ground.
You deserve this.
All right, let's get this last weird model, Bad Omen. I don't even know
This
what this
is
thing
a
does. It's like a
reference.
ghost
This no,
cat
no. This is a
thing.
reference to Puss in Boots. This is death incarnate.
Is it?
Yes, this is death incarnate.
this is. I will note the Bad Omen was showing up in Parker stories a long time before the Last Wish came out. So
No, no,
Puss
no,
in
no.
Boots ripped
I
off Parker first.
no, 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 no.
Aha.
So the Last Omen was around. You are absolutely correct. But the design of this model
Yeah.
specifically, there is no denying it. This is the Last Wish, the death. This is death.
Yep.
This model's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be when I looked at the art.
Oh, he's huge.
Uh-huh.
If you haven't seen The Last Wish, that movie is amazing.
I haven't.
Yeah, that
It.
movie is amazing. It's actually very, very good
I'd
for
agree.
like anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's solid. Um.
And then and the Bad Omen, literally everything in this card. If you see the movie, it's in there.
Yeah.
Okay, good
Yeah.
to know. What does it actually do, though?
Look, it's I played this model once, and I need to play a few more games with it because the math of it is hard to hold in your head. It's fundamentally what it does is it screws with your opponent's Soulstone users by forcing them to discard a card every time they want to use a Soulstone,
Yep.
and it has this really cool bonus action that just works where it can pick an enemy model that hasn't yet activated, and if it is in line of sight of Bad Omen when the end phase hits, it has to throw away a card with of a 9 or higher or a Soulstone, and if it does neither of
Yep.
those, the model just dies automatically.
It's a free execute. It's literally bonus action for an execute.
With
It
no
is
flip or
amazing.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just straight up that model within 8 inches of me. That is not a leader, so I guess your master is free.
The problem I've had with this model is that it's 10 stones, so it's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
It's not actually that dangerous a beater for its cost. It's only a 246 is a decent damage track, but it's 10 points. It doesn't have flurry or anything. It doesn't have easy ways to get focus. It's other attack eventuality is decent, but it only becomes like really good turn 4 or 5, and it's suppress magic is very dependent on you going hard into your opponent's stone users, which aren't always the easiest things to kill. So
Yeah,
it's encouraging
Yeah.
a line of play that doesn't necessarily pay dividends immediately.
I
And
think the fact that it's both incorporeal and Vengeance One in Outcast is a thing that they probably like oversold. It's like out of all there's a bunch of models that are like this throughout every faction and the new stuff, right? And I think this is unfortunately one of the models that did not get the extra oomph to be good because he's competing with the Emissary and other 10-point models in Outcast.
yeah, like and so many of our keywords have strong 10-point models. Like you're not bringing like
Correct.
in Bandit, you've already brought Mad Dog and the Emissary. In Shield, you've already brought Arik and Hannah. Then there's like the keywords that straight up don't function with it. Like Leviticus doesn't want this model because you're doing irreducible damage, and you don't want a like you can't punish your opponent for using soul stones if you're not letting them use soul stones in the first place. So it's just sort of not
Yeah.
doing anything there. I think this model does work very well in Jackdaw. because you're already
Really?
going to have deleted your opponent's hand, so they're going to have no way to start. So it's kind of making Jackdaw's attacks irreducible damage against Soulstone users. Like it's denying their ability to use Soulstones because they've run out of cards, and
Hmm.
then it's like another execute pressure for the end of phase with their encroaching, with the impending doom bonus action.
I
So
don't know. I'm kind of on the side that this is a good model. Just throw into your enemy, mostly because of the demise.
yep.
But if you find any sort of anti-demise, this model is not as good.
And the demise is notable as well because it also attaches an upgrade, so it turns on more torment stuff with
Correct.
Jackdaw. This model's like entire card reads almost like it's a Jackdaw keyword model. Frankly, it's based.
That's not wrong because
Um,
the incorporeal and all the other like face me,
yep,
have no cards in your hand kind of thing.
yep. So I'll run this in Jackdaw. I've been testing it not in Jackdaw because I can see that it's good in Jackdaw. So where I was curious was how good stuff like Suppress Magic would be in non-door lists, and most of my games of testing so far, it's been too hard to fit into a list because it's just so expensive. And then
Hmm.
the one game I did get on the table, it did not do 10 points worth of work. It was
Interesting.
um, so I'll start running some Jackdaw lists with it though and see how it fares because I think there's some very strong potential there. Um,
Even with arrhythmia,
well,
the arrhythmia is in the upgrade.
Arrhythmia is on the upgrade. Yeah, it has to die for Arrhythmia to come up, and because it is an incorporeal
Yeah.
model with vengeance, your opponent kind of doesn't want to attack it. So
Uh,
sometimes it like the one game I played with it, my opponent looked at the upgrade and looked at how hard this thing was to kill in the first place, and went, "I'd rather just kill other stuff, honestly." and
Yeah.
and
I mean, he does hand out injured fairly
he
easily, but he only
does,
has two attacks.
and that is
So
valid.
like he has a free walk technically for turns 1 and 2,
Yeah,
and then after that, you kind of just want to toss that execute over and over again until like something
I
dies.
got stuck scheming with him on turn 4 and 5, and boy, that bonus action feels bad at that point. It's
You get to move it
Hey,
in.
you over there, die, and then walk away from them. They're like, no, wait.
It does have on your heels, so I mean that's not
yeah,
terrible.
look, he's. I actually think this is a well designed model because it's a 10-point versatile that I don't feel obliged to throw into every single list, which is the risk that they run when they make
Sure.
a very powerful 10-point model. And
Very
it
true.
and while and so like I'm talking up the negatives. I don't think this is actually applicable for like the majority of Outcast crews, but in Jackdaw specifically, and I think it's fine for a new release that is to just have like one fairly specific use case, and I think this has that. So it is playable. It has an space where you play it. You probably don't bring it most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to see this model in other keywords, but you're right. The space is very tight.
So looking at kind of finishing up, looking at all this outcast stuff. So there's two things that we'll kind of ask to kind of finish this up. First one that I always ask out of the episodes we've done is what model are you most excited about playing out of this new batch of models? So out of everything, which one are you guys kind of like, yeah, this is the one that's like, I can't wait to get on this table?
Silas.
I can tell just, well, one, I think you like all the nurse stuff, the asylum stuff, and you definitely like most of the half
Yeah, and
blood
we
stuff.
played it. When we were talking about Silas, you were not here, but you played against some of the asylum models, and you played with the
Oh, yeah.
asylum models. They're not bad. It's just
Oh, no. I like them.
Liam was pointing out some things that are true. Like some of the asylum models are just gonna die. I will take that into account. Yeah,
Malifaux.
exactly. I'm gonna take that into account to see if they can do their job before they die. But he's not wrong. They Most of the models are very squishy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't also the little minions for Castor half bloods? Am I wrong
No,
No,
there?
Some of them are Nephilim,
Okay.
but not the little ones. I think the little ones are just returned.
That's what it
Yeah,
is.
unfortunately.
So if you want to do that, you play Barbaros.
Correct.
That's true.
Between
Correct.
that Yannick, Barbaros, and Silas, Outcasts really are the faction of we can take everything. I think
We can play
Yeah, but that's
every
kind of cool though.
I
faction.
think
It's that
Arcanists,
mercenary kind of
is it
feel to 'em.
Arcanists and like 10 Thunders are like the only
Yeah,
factions
those
in
are
the
the only
game now
ones.
where we can't steal a keyword from. um,
Technically, we have a couple of models from Ten Thunders, but you're right, nothing from Arcanist.
Yannick can use a couple of the new models that are also syndicated.
yeah, but
and
it's
Out
a
of
little bit
Arcanist.
different from like there are some models that have shared keywords, but like I'm thinking more
Right.
in terms of stealing an entire keyword, the way Barbaros or like
Oh no.
Yeah, no.
Silas can. Yeah, so the for me, what I'm really excited about, I think LMA has probably been the most. It's interesting because on paper, 6 arm 6 shooters was what I was really excited about because the a bit just anytime I see ski marker shenanigans, I get excited. But just
Oh
for
yeah.
Benny, it's all for Benny. But LMA is just like she's cool out of keyword. She's really flexible in terms of how she plays. She combos like she's got that really fun thing they've done a lot in this expansion of having really cool
And
like
the model
combos
looks sick.
with other models. I do slightly wish the models pose didn't look because like LMA is one of the only bandits that doesn't have run and gun. She has sniper instead, but her pose to me screams run and gun.
The model looks like she's running.
So the pose irks me just a little bit on that front, but she's she's a fast schemer. She's hard to kill. She can shoot. She can kind of just do a little bit of everything, while also having that really cool like combo play with her paired model, and she tells a really compelling story. Like she's clearly marking someone for death, and she's here to get her revenge. I wish Vendetta was still in the GG pool just for her.
Man, you're right. That would have been so cool.
So yeah, I think LMA's got my vote.
Yeah, I want to say Tunnel Rats, but man, Heartstop Herbert just hits the right vibe for me. This dude just just pushing himself around in a wheelchair. He just can scheme
Pushing
pretty
himself, he
decent.
says. That
Yeah.
thing has an engine,
Yeah.
a V8.
LMA, Herbert, and the Tunnel Rats
Hey.
are the honorary are all getting honorary mentions in my book because all three of them are those like Midnight Stalker replacements that I think the faction has been looking for quite a few
Okay.
years at this point.
They definitely have, because when my buddy was playing Brian, he was playing Von Schill, and he was just like, "Man, how do I scheme in this GG?" And this release, I think, gives a lot of options to Outcast, where you can just pick whichever schemer you like for whichever situation, and they can give you a little something to
Dude,
help you win the day.
Rocket boots not enough? What the crap? I'm gonna find out. I guess.
It's not. It's not. Their AP is not efficient enough, and you can only hand out so many
It's
boots.
a problem
And
when you have to spend an
Okay.
action to make another model be good at scheming.
and once they're out there with those boots, they use them. They get kicked off unless you're the free corpsman, but then you're taking damage to keep them on, and eventually you're going to die.
And then there's the
Okay, that's fair.
I am pretty excited to put rocket boots on Tunnel Rats and just see how far I can go in a turn. But
I'm gonna leap. I'm gonna secret passage. I'm a secret passage
like
again.
I think the only reason you won't see Tunnel Rats in every Outcast crew is that they gave every Outcast crew a way to scheme, like in keyword. So we don't even have that like really strong, which is great because Outcasts for me have always been one of the factions that is most keyword focused. We just have such strong keyword synergies that we don't really need to grab out of keyword stuff too often. And this release maintains that. These are all models that are solid in their keywords. You don't need to bring them out of keyword to get that same tech because we got similar tech sort of across the board. It's a really cool release. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, I mean, Liam, you're an Outcast homer. I mean, I don't even know if you play any other
I don't know.
faction, but and Dixon, I know that this brought you kind of. I feel like this pushed you back into Outcast once you saw some of these
Yeah,
cool models. So I think you both are pretty optimistic for this release and kind of how it's going to
yeah,
help you,
yeah.
win
In
games.
a competitive sense, I think Ellie Mae and the six shooter are gonna bring more to the faction than any other model in this release. But after listening to you guys, I'm not even. I'm gonna have to recant the tunnel rats thing because I didn't think about tunnel rats giving Hannah that. Like that's insane in my opinion.
That's so good. That's
That
so
is just
good.
absolutely absurd. And so yeah, so those two things, I can't think of a bad model. Like I'm excited to find out if some of these models are bad, but I right now I just can't see it. Even the trial and error models, like you look at them, you're like, these models look like they should be bad, but there's something about them that makes me go, maybe not.
Yeah, I think if we've got a
Put
dud,
them
it
on
will
the table.
probably prove to be the bad omen. But yeah,
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe, and it's not because he's not gonna do his job. It's because
it's
what?
just so
Why
expensive.
would you bring him instead of other
Well,
models?
and even then, it's still a fun model.
Yeah,
Like you could bring this and still do things with it, right? It's not like it's gonna because there are sometimes you put a bad model on the table and you're like, this does
I don't think.
nothing. Like this is just a big
I
nothing
don't think.
burger, and that model still
Yeah,
does
well, I don't
something.
think me and Liam think that he's a bad model. I think that in his space there are other models that just synergize better. And
It's hard to squeeze them in there
yeah,
too.
because like when we were talking about Bat Omen, it wasn't that he was bad. It was just like he does something really good for Jackdaw, and everybody else he's just fine.
Mm.
I think the big point you guys made that was really good is Outcasts do have just like expensive models. Like Outcasts have a lot of like 9 and 10 stone models and a lot of their keywords that it's just like, man, there's not a lot of room for
Yeah,
another versatile 10 stone
I
model.
the amount of times that I've seen people say it was like, well, just bring fucking whatever the guy with the giant shotgun.
Oh, Mad Dog.
Just bring the giant shotgun guy. Yeah, Mad Dog.
Yeah, 11 stones.
Yeah, it's just a casual 11 stones out of keyword to destroy
Who is
markers.
also only good if you've also brought the emissary. So now it's 21 soul stones. So you're barely touching your own keyword. So why didn't you just declare bandit? I don't know. I have a
Yeah,
serious
Yeah.
see, there
problem
you
with
go.
with bringing Mad Dog into everything. I think he's just got too many weaknesses and he's too easy to counter for the 20 stones of investment that you have to put in to make him good.
Every time I've brought him out a keyword, Dixon just runs something up into him, and then I got to burn people with cigars to try
Yep.
and pry him
Yeah,
loose, and it's just a
yeah.
whole
Yep.
mess.
Get him out of combat. Block line of sight. Block line of sight. It's like it's so silly.
Or
But
it's
yeah.
just
Anyway,
him staggered is the saddest thing in the world.
It's true.
True.
Anyway,
And Stagger is
All
super
right.
sad.
Well, anything else about the release that you guys want to put out there before we wrap this thing up?
We're playing Silas. Next time we do a battle report, we gotta put Silas
Dude,
on the
Yeah.
table.
yeah, get some practice with him, and we'll do a video on him.
Yeah. Well, I gotta play against you anyway, so I might as well
Yeah,
practice against
we'll get a game. We'll get a game in the next few days here.
you. Yeah.
hope it goes well because I do want
Liam,
Silas to
anything
be
you
good.
want to plug or say?
No, not at the moment. I don't think. The I'm just really keen for these releases. I think I had a lot of issues with the last cycle with the Madness and Malifaux stuff, and I think they've
Yeah,
really course corrected very well with the Ashes releases. Just looking at what other factions got, so much of it is so thematic and really interestingly designed, and so much cleaner, I think, than a lot of the way Madness was written. So there's just a lot of models where I read them and I go, that is just such a cool concept for a model. I love it.
So I want to share my excitement of bringing me back to Arcanist that I do want because I do like the Arcanist stuff better than the Reser stuff that got released. There wasn't a lot in the Reser stuff I'm like all jazzed about, but in the Arcanist, like the keywords that I play, and also this is something that has me kind of pumped, and I hope it works out and keeps my excitement on this keyword. December is actually looking a little fun for me. Like you get the big, frozen alligator, and something that you obviously get the snow whatever new model that came out too. That's really good, but I was talking with everybody in the Discord, and we were kind of sitting here spitballing all this December nonsense. And we were like, dude, you want to know what else you could do? You could bring Miranda as a healer for the alligator and the deer. And, she has her own upgrade too. So then she can turn into the Blessed of December and switch back and forth from that. And I was just like, that sounds like my jam. I think I'm going to try that out. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Good times.
Dixon, you're going to play against it. You're gonna
Oh yeah, no, I'm perfectly happy. I think Silas has the tools.
Yeah, I think, and especially knowing you, this is the man that likes playing puppet as a Hinamatsu led keyword. So I think you're going to find some fun stuff you're going to do with Silas.
Oh yeah.
All right, but I think we're going to wrap it up there. I want to thank you again, Liam, for coming on. It was a lot of fun just chatting it up with you. And until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables. We will see y'all later.